Welcome to Zero Trust World 2025. CyberRisk TV is here, recording live from the Caribe Royale in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Adrian Sanabria, and joining me for our final interview of the show is Rob Allen, Chief Product Officer at ThreatLocker. How are you holding up?
I'm holding up good. I respect the fact that you kept the best to last.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. But no, it's all good. It's been a fantastic event. Everybody seems to be universally happy with it. So well done to everybody who was involved in organising it, which was not me. I just showed up and talked to people and smiled and told some jokes, and it all worked out well.
I'm on my 11th year of organizing B-Sides Knoxville in East Tennessee. It's the only cybersecurity conference in East Tennessee, so it's very important to the locals there. And it helps me appreciate everything that must have gone into organizing this.
It's an enormous undertaking. It's months of preparation. We've got teams of people who are working all hours trying to get everything organized, but it's amazing when you actually see it all coming together, especially when you see it from behind the scenes. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, I obviously attend lots of events, lots of conferences, and you're one side of it, but seeing all the organization and all the hard work and everything that goes into it is phenomenal.
And I don't think I fully appreciated when I got here that it's kind of many conferences in one. You know, it's kind of your user conference, right? You've got a bunch of hands-on stuff. You've got labs, not even necessarily related to the product, just, learn some offensive security stuff,
Absolutely.
we're just talking to Kieran about the importance of, am I really worried about somebody attacking me with a rubber ducky? Probably not, but it enables people to simulate the types of behaviors an attacker might have once they get on a host.
Absolutely.
So it enables you to see how your defenses do against those sorts of attacks, with this handy little USB device.
Absolutely. I mean, look, it's a conference. It wears many hats, I suppose, is one way of putting it. I mean, we have everything here from the techies themselves to CISOs from large organizations. There's lots of different people, and they all take lots of different things away from it.
Yeah.
The labs are incredibly popular. As you said, like how to use Metasploit or how to program a rubber ducky, those kind of things are always really popular. You'll notice what was our main stage last year, the room next to us here, with 500 seats. Last year, the labs there was queues around the block basically for the lab, so we had to make them bigger and bigger and bigger, and even now with 500 machines and 500 people in there, they're still oversubscribed. We've had to do extra sessions, but as I said, we have everything from actual hands-on techs to CISOs to executives. All manner of people come, and they all want something else. They want something different from a conference, but learning is a really important part of it. I mean, fundamentally it's a hands-on learning conference, and as I said, everything from Metasploit to rubber duckies to all the tools and techniques and tactics and things that people can use to educate others as well. So rubber duckies, I mean, everybody can say, rubber duckies aren't really used in attacks, but if somebody takes away one of the rubber duckies that they get from the labs and they program something onto it and they hand it to somebody and say, plug that into your machine, and then all of a sudden, Rick Astley's never going to give you up comes up on the machine, they go, now I see, now I understand, now maybe I understand why we need to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, well, and also you can use it to validate your controls, and I think that's incredibly important in cybersecurity. I started a consultancy, and one of the things we focused on was, okay, you've hired all these security people, you've bought all these security products. Does it all work?
I've got a story about this for you.
100% of the products, 100% of the companies, 100% of the products, all misconfigured. Miles of improvements to be made.
Absolutely.
And that's one of we actually partnered with a breach and attack simulation vendor, so that we could prove this point very quickly. Yes. So we would spend an hour in a conference room with the stakeholders and say, okay, now we're downloading a bunch of malware. Now we're beaconing out. Now we're touching the WannaCry kill switch. We move from things that are sneaky to things that were extremely noisy and very obvious. And these are all mid-size enterprises, so they all had MSSPs.
Yeah.
So you've got these stakeholders looking at their phones, waiting for their phones to light up.
I've been
Never
there.
happens.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
So we have, I don't know if you've heard about this, but we have a thing that we do as part of our presentations, which is what's called the Ducky Challenge. And the Ducky Challenge, basically, we've got a rubber ducky, and it's programmed with a PowerShell script for data exfiltration. Just goes through the user's documents folder and uploads everything to our Google blob. Now the challenge part of the Ducky Challenge, to your point about validating controls, is we basically say to people at events, look, this is a data exfiltration rubber ducky. It will steal your data. If you think your current cybersecurity solution will stop it from stealing your data, come talk to us. We'll plug it into your computer.
Yeah.
If you win, you get to keep the rubber ducky.
Yeah.
If we win, we get to keep your data.
I love it.
Most people will politely laugh and then sort of step away going, no, there's no way you're plugging that into my machine. But genuinely, we have had dozens of people volunteer and allow us to plug it into their machines. Sometimes, as you said.
And the success rate?
99.9%. There is one guy who is the only one that it didn't work on, and it wasn't anything more advanced, and he had some piece of software that was the digital equivalent of glue in the USB key, basically, in the USB slot. It wouldn't allow any USB device, whether it be storage or anything else.
Even a keyboard.
Even a keyboard, even a mouse, didn't make any difference. You had to allow it with this software that this guy was using. But I've an even better one of this. So we, as I said, we make that joke on stage quite often. I did it in Dubai about a year and a half ago, and after the presentation, a couple of very serious looking gentlemen approached me from a large Middle Eastern bank. And they said, look, we don't want to plug the rubber ducky into our computer, okay? But what we would like, please, is a copy of that script, the PowerShell script. Would you mind sending it to us? So I sent them an email with very clear instructions.
Oh no, you got their data.
You know where this is going. I said, you are going to want to change this portion of the script because this is basically our Google Blob storage. If you upload data there, it is publicly accessible. It is accessible to the world. So please change that part of the script if you want to test it. So the following day, I flew back home to Ireland from Dubai, and it's about an 8 or 9 hour flight. And I decided, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to relax. I'm not going to get any, I'm not.
That's
gonna
why
get
proof
Wi-Fi.
of concepts have HXXP.
But anyway, basically, I eventually turned on Wi-Fi. My phone exploded with messages from people who were still at the event. And one was a picture of a colleague of mine, Harvey, and it said, Harvey on the phone to a Middle Eastern bank who did the Ducky Challenge and got their data exfiltrated. They ran the script unedited. They uploaded 338 files for our blog, and were understandably panicking. But it's really illustrative because it shows that they obviously had some sort of a belief, mistaken as it turns out, that something would stop this, something would protect them from it happening. I mean, we've had, and they uploaded more information a couple of weeks later, the same bank, other users, so they like multiple self-exfiltrators. But I've had people literally
Please stop sending us your data.
I've had people at conferences, at events like this with other vendors, and they'd be, customers of the other vendor and say, look, we've got X EDR. Absolutely confident it will detect something happening here. So we go, okay, well, plug it in, data gets exfiltrated. Not a peep out of
until
the other
you've
vendor.
Until you've tried it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny to watch somebody, the disappointment first of all, the realization, and then them march over to the other vendor going, why didn't you detect this?
Yeah.
But
some sort of like stages of grief, but for cybersecurity control validation.
Compressed.
Yeah, and it's incredibly important, and it shocks me how many people, and it's the same for DR, for BCP. Like if you've never actually thrown the switch to your DR environment, these days, everybody's doing high availability in the cloud or something like that, or you never restored from your backups. Do you really know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, one of my an interesting take on that is that using offsite backup services, I mean, they're a good idea. I mean, you should have segregated backups or backups that are separate to your network, but it's actually a really efficient way for a threat actor to exfiltrate large amounts of data from an environment without setting off any egress alarms or without anyone noticing. So if you use, threatlocker.veeam.com, for example, if I just change it to threatlocker2.veeam.com, who's going to notice? Large amounts of information are flowing in and out to locations. So it's one of the reasons that we suggest to people that they should control where programs can talk to. So it's not just about what can run and what can't run. It's that, does my backup need to talk to anywhere except threatlocker.veeam.com? Probably not. So why would I allow it to talk to anywhere but threatlocker.veeam.com? But yeah, as you said, you really don't know until you've thrown that switch.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had some great conversations with a lot of your employees, a lot of solution engineers, just discussing and really learning live here, like some new ideas, some new tricks, some new concepts and things like that. But I absolutely love just the idea of seeing all the different ways that you can apply the principles of zero trust or least privilege to things. And I think my favorite to talk about is the idea that it's not just about minimizing privileges, but thinking about privileges on a time scale as well. Like the app that I installed for this conference, this C-Event app, it would be lovely if when I installed it, I could say, Monday, I'm not going to need this anymore.
Yeah.
It'd be great if my iPhone could just uninstall it when I no longer need it.
Yeah.
But the aspects of time, maybe location, like there's all these, the idea that maybe I just need access to this file that I'm going to share with somebody for this meeting that's coming up. It should have a 24-hour expiration or a 6-hour expiration.
Absolutely.
These should be the defaults.
And especially there's certain things that are higher risk than others.
Yeah.
So things like, for example, remote access tools. I mean, most environments, first of all, most customers, most environments, most people have no idea how many different remote access tools are running in their environments.
AnyDesk, TeamViewer, RDP.
Ridiculous amounts. I mean, I worked with a partner at one
They're
stage.
so easy to download and run.
Well, this is the point, but how it typically happens is it's some third party at some point wants to fix a piece of software on your machine.
So they direct
say,
you.
Can you download TeamViewer, please? The user downloads TeamViewer, it gets installed in the machine, and it sits there forever as a potential.
And you don't
way in.
have to install it.
No, absolutely not. But we've seen
you can just run it.
We've seen examples where organizations have 5, 6, 7 different
I
remote access tools running, not just sitting around, actively running on their machines, and they've no idea it's there. I had one customer I dealt with at one point, and they had 20% of their machines, 20% of their estate was running TeamViewer.
Yeah.
That organization did not use TeamViewer. The company that managed the organization did not use TeamViewer. There was no good reason for TeamViewer to be running on 20% of the machines, but it was, as I said, for that reason that at some point some third party said, can you install it please? And it sits there as a potential way and a potential vulnerability on the network basically forever.
I've worked with sysadmins that just didn't like going through the routine of the process of procurement and asking people for things. So they actually had like libraries of cracks and things like that for software. And they would either use free stuff or they would use, illegally cracked versions of software. Just because they didn't have to ask for budget, didn't have to go ask for somebody to pay for something.
I've literally seen that in the last few months. I've seen that.
Nobody else knows they're installing this stuff or that it's
so
not legitimately obtained software.
Yeah, no, it's really not good. We had somebody who wasn't a customer that then was a customer, but they got compromised before they were a customer. Long story short, we saw evidence of Cobalt Strike beacons being deployed back again before ThreatLocker was in and secured, but it seemed that it started from one of their employees torrenting software, as you said, cracked software, and there was also keygens sitting on a machine being run on machines. And it's so dangerous. I actually did one of my presentations last year was actually about Mac software, and I'm gonna tell you about an Irishism now.
Okay.
So the Irish use the word crack for different purposes, and we actually spell it C-R-A-I-C. So crack means fun, basically. So you say you're great crack. So you're great crack means you're great fun.
Yeah.
So one of the slides I did in the presentation last year was crack, C-R-A-I-C, good.
Yeah.
Cracks, bad.
Yeah.
Because they are so dangerous. Because it's a really, really common way of malware.
Yeah, it's a really good way of getting an info sealer.
Unbelievably so. But again, it's one of the reasons why the built-in. So we have this concept of built-ins in ThreatLocker, which are application definitions that we maintain, we monitor, we keep them up to date. And if you download a piece of software like a cracked version of Photoshop, for example, it's not going to match our built-in. So that's going to be a big alarm bell going, this is not a legitimate version of this program. Watch out. You can also run it in a testing environment to see what it does. literally detonated within a piece, safe, secure, completely separate to your machine, completely separate to anything threat locker related, but you can basically run it and see how it behaves.
Right. Yeah, and it's going to change the hashes. Any kind of malicious payload put in there is going to change how you obtain that. Yeah. Well, it's as someone who runs events with an all volunteer staff, and every penny that comes in, you're probably not making anything off this event. This is probably
it costs us some money.
But B-Sides Knoxville is a very minimalist event, and we've really analyzed the formula down to you got to have good talks and good presentations. You got to feed people, and you've got to serve them coffee, and so coffee and food you can put together. So 3 things, and the third thing is they've got to have somewhere for hallway con. They've got to have somewhere to chat. That's not in the talk area.
Yeah.
And you guys have solved all that beautifully. The food has been amazing. I've overheard so many great
I've heard
conversations.
that. I haven't actually had a chance to have any of it myself, but I've heard it's quite good. Yes.
Yeah, it was excellent. The coffee is very good. I'm picky about coffee, and I've heard great things about the keynotes and the labs. So well done.
Thank you very much. I mean, I think the thing that stands out to me, and it's feedback that I get from people I talk to, is that you can stop anybody and talk to them, and they will give you advice, and that's something that's really important. I mean, whatever about what we say to people, whatever about other vendors, presentations, experts, all that kind of thing, whatever they say is one thing, but having actual conversations with human beings who've been in the same position as you, face the same challenges as you have, is really, really valuable and really, really important.
Yeah, they need to share these stories. What problems they're having. Oh, this person solved that problem.
Absolutely.
And that's really where a lot of the value comes from. And I've overheard a lot of those conversations.
There's so many of them. They're happening all the time. I mean, there's people sitting outside from us here now. I'm sure they're having those exact conversations.
Yeah.
But it's amazing.
Little tidbits the moment Danny was talking about patching or something like he lit up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very excited about that.
But no, it's a really important part of it. I mean, we've been incredibly lucky, even with the size of the event this year, over 1,500 attendees. I don't think you would meet anyone who isn't nice, who wouldn't stop and have that conversation with you, which is pretty impressive, as I said, considering the size of the event.
Yeah, and that's been my experience.
That's good
Rob,
to hear.
thank you so much for helping me wrap up this week's
Thank you for being here. We
interviews.
Appreciate you.
And chatting with me. And again, you can catch all our coverage on this on our YouTube. You can go to securityweekly.com/ZTW for all the content that we recorded this week. This is the end of our live coverage here. Thank you for joining us at Zero Trust World 2025. And thanks again, Rob.
No problem at all. Great. Pleasure. Thank you.